Welcome to Sports on Saturday. In this program, we get to profile sports legends from various disciplines. My name is Silvester tapfumane. Muchirongwa chinechi tinokusanganisa ine vatambi vakaita mukurumbira, vakaita mazita, vamwe vacho pavakaita mukurumbira isusu pamwe takasati tazvarwa tasina maredhiyo tasina matv, asi muchirongwa chinechi tinozama tinoedza nepese patinogona kuti tidzokere tichidzura nekudzora ndangariro yezvakaitika mumakore akapfuura. Vamwe munovaziva, vamwewo maingweta vekungonzwa neparedhiyo, asi yezvinezvi tiri kupai mukana wekuti musangane navo. Vamwe maigona kunge muchinzwa pachiitwa soka commentary, kunova ndo kwatakanga tiriwo isusu. Kwaini waigona kunzwa richinzi tasangana nhasi uno masikatano kunhandare yeNational Sports Stadium pari kutamba chikwata cheDynT pamwe chete neCaps United. Muchikwata cheDynT chiri kurova chakafuratira kuHeroes Eka. Nhasi uno rekaita unoti zvinomira 1-1 panopera mutambo uno. Iye zvino izvi riri mumaoko aJafet Muparudza. Jafet achikanda diki diki achiisa kuna Norman Mapesa achisumudza musoro achiriisa kuna Stuart Murisa ari mucenter circle. Achitasa nechekurudyi kwenhandare kuna Anivaisa Tsuru pasi kuna Alois Bunjira. Alois achidzorera kuna Stuart Murisa. Stuart achidzorera kuna Alois. It's a friendly affair. Gobora! Alois Bunjira Caps 0 Dynty 1. Ndio zvimwe zvaiitika mazuva acho naiwa. Saka topedza kubatanidza zvese kuti tidzokere mumazuva aidzi mutambo wainakidza. Nhasi uno muchirongwa ndinani mandidzochitaura zvekuti Alois Bunjira ane mazita akasiyana siyana. Regai tinzwe kuti nhasi uno zvakamira 1-1 uye akakurira kupi. Regai titange kudaidza Alois Bunjira muchirongwa chinechi. Alois, wakadii zvako?
Ndiripo makasimbo.
Aiwa ndiri right tereke mazuva anga awanda tisingaonani.
Anditika ngati wande.
Zviri sei?
Apana ndiri. I'm okay. Life is good.
Iwo pawaitamba bhora wairova negumbo ripi chete?
Ndakazvarwa ndiri right footed, but as I started playing football in the street, I don't know where I got that from. I just started practicing to use my left as well. So it was self-taught. You know, I taught myself to use my left as well when I was very young. I think I was like 8-9 years old. I was already trying to use both legs. So by the time I started playing in organized junior football, under 12, under 14, I was basically good with both legs. So a lot of people don't really know which leg that I use, but I'm right-footed. Okay. But vakawanda vanofunga kuti zvondorwa left, because at the end of the day, most clubs that I played for, they prefer to use me on the left side of attack, and people thought that I was left-footed, but actually my stronger foot is right.
We'll get into more details about your playing days. Let's go back to your life as Alois. Alois akazvarwa kupi?
Ini ndakazvarwa kuWonde Valley, Manicaland province, part very in the corner of Manicaland. A lot of people don't really know it, but the history has it that ndo kwakatangira Hondo Chimrenga. Okay. Yakatangira paWonde Valley. Yes, so that's where I was born, and
unotoreketa chimanyika here?
Yeah, ndotaura.
Hakumbabvuya uchi.
Yeah, tikatosangana pakutotaurwa chimanyika totorwa. So we moved from Honde Valley when I was 3 years old. You know, my parents and the other relatives, they had to run away because ndo waipisa Hondo zvakasimba, so they ran away, moved to Harare, started staying in Mbare, then later on got a house in Chitungwiza. So basically I can say ndakakurira kuchitungwiza because ndo kwandakatangira grade 1 kusvika kuzengeza 1, yes. Kuzengeza 1 muna Dovi Street, Zengeza 1 pana 23 Dovi Street. Yeah, yes. Kudhara kwangu kusati kwane ma street names vaiusa ma stand numbers. It used to be 3071. For those that know about that, it used to be 3071 Zengeza 1, but we now use 23 Dovi Street.
Okay, apa mako wanga wagoreri pamakamuva kwenda kuchitungwiza?
That was the time my parents stayed in Mbare vachiva ine musha kuWonde Valley, but we were not there because it was like a bachelor's flat. I'm told. I never saw it. So when they got a four-roomed house in Zengeza, I think that's when we all moved. I was 3 years old then. So I started staying in Zengeza when I was 3 years old.
So you are a Chitungwiza boy?
Yes, basically.
So the streets of Chitungwiza know you?
They know me very well.
When you were still walking barefooted, tell us about those days when you started playing football on the street.
Yeah, that's what everybody else was doing. You know, it was either you making mota dzemawaya kana kuti muri kugadzira makaiti kana mutambo bhora. You know, you know. Yes, you know that's what we used to do. We never really used to have toys. You know, we made our own toys. Motor chairs that we used to use as the bricks. You know, those were our cars. You know, so but I was not into those things. To be honest, I was into football. I was actually the best, you know, in the street. Plastic, you know. Okay. So, but I started playing even before I went to school. We started playing in the street, like I said, like everybody else. Every young kid played football. Even but there was a time that you have to come to soccer, you know. So we played there, and by the time I was in primary school, I was actually kind of like accomplished street footballer. You know, a lot of people, yeah, a little bit, yeah. I can say I was, and I was like quite popular as well in street football, because I think my talent started showing very early in my life, and a lot of guys in the street, older guys, you know, they actually used to call me Joe Shire. I never knew who Joe Shire was, but they would call me Joe Shire because, you know, they would watch for my weekends. You find at Chitamba, and they would see how I would be dribbling everybody. You know, in the street. You know that I always talk about it with a lot of people that are close to me about my toenails. You know, I think both legs. I think the bigger one is I think the nails that I've got right now could be maybe 4th or 5th generation. maybe yeah. I think we could be around 5th generation, because we used to play without shoes, and you would hit a brick, you hit some rock that is like on the ground, and it would just come out. And sometimes we would just carry on playing. You know, you just take it off. Even after being injured. Yes, you take it off. You take the nail off. But you did a mataka to block the blood from coming. We were brave, and then we would carry on playing. And it would take months for it to heal, because you keep on playing. You just put sand and soil and play. So yeah, I used to get injured a lot.
Do you remember some of the senior guys that you were playing with during that time? Those who gave you the name George Shire?
There is one guy. We were not playing with him. He was a mechanic. And in Dara Jumbo, you know, he was a mechanic. He used to fix a lot of cars in the street. So most of them he was not working. You know, that was his job. So he was one of the older people that stayed in the street while we were playing in the street, because he also used to fix his cars in the street. So he watched a lot of our games. He's the one who started calling me Joy Shire. But his son was also playing with us. You know, he went on to be a good player, but he was not really prominent. Patrick Demera, you know, a lot of people at Segetu High School, if you tell them about Madinda, they will tell you a guy called Madinda. He was like very good. He went on to Seke. But in our street, the prominent players that I played with in our street, I can only think of Clopas Makankula and Wellington Shangiwa. Shangiwa later on played for Chapungu as well. Yeah, he was my teammate in the street. He was older though, but he was one of my better players as teammates in the street. Yeah.
You started at a very tender age to play football. Is it coming after someone? Did anyone in your family or parents play football?
You know, funny enough, there was nobody in my family that I know that ever played football. So I think in this generation of footballers in the Bunjira family, I can safely say it started with my brother, my elder brother. My elder brother was really good. He was a very good footballer, and he is the one who used to take me to football, a lot of football matches, even in the street. He was, my brother was 11 years older than me, but there was a time that we were now playing in the same street team. You know, because I graduated into the first team of the street very early. So he was very good. He was really good. But what he did is when he finished A-level, you know, he took an academic route. You know, that was the height of when people were saying you can't play football you have to go and have an education, you know, time those days. So he made a decision not to pursue football, of which I thought if he had pursued football, he could have easily played in the Premier League. He was really that good, but he took that route. So I took after him. You know, he's the only one in our family that I know that played football. And then it just came after me. Now there was Shaw. He's a cousin, my uncle's son. He also played for Masingo United. He played for Darenti. He was my junior at Darenti as well. And Clemens Bunjira, his elder brother, he also played for Red Wing in Penalonga. Those are the Bunjiras that actually played football at a much higher level. And then after that, there was a drought, but there is my son that is coming up, and my son is really good, and we're hoping there's something that makes us feel that he's going to be really good.
How old is he now as you speak?
He's turning 17 at the end of this year, but he's already showing signs. You know, if it was in the olden days, if there was let's say a brave coach in a country like Grabowski, if a coach like Grabowski still existed, he would be playing in the Premier League right now, because he is good enough to play. I've watched it not just because he's my son, but because I have watched him play. You know, I know the standard. He is just as good as I was at that age.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are a proud dad.
So
you
far,
have a son who is following after your footsteps.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
Let's go back to the streets. And then from then on, you were which primary school were you going to?
I went to Zengeza 7 primary school. You know, all my brothers, they went to Fumo primary school. That was the first school. It was like Zengeza 3. Then by the time, because I was the youngest, by the time I got to be grade 1, there was a new school, which was actually quite much closer. I can say maybe 150 meters from our house. So I was enrolled into Zengeza 7 primary school. So that's where I started my grade 1 to 7. I did my grade 1 to 7 at Zengeza 7 primary school.
Then when you were there, in a relationship to football, what happened?
If you go back there, I think there are about 3-4 teachers that were there when I was there. But I was quite popular in the neighborhood because of football, my exploits. But yeah, at school, I think I was the most popular kid in primary school because of that time. You know, football was like, you know, it was very popular. Football was very popular at that time, and I started playing for the second team for the school when I was in grade 3. You know, it's people might think it's weird. It's not. If you look at a grade 3 boy right now, you would say I'm lying, but I did. You know, then in grade 4, I was still playing for the second team, and I was actually awarded the Soccer Star of the Year in grade 4. Yes, in grade 4, I was the player of the year in that team, second team. You know, then in grade 5, I was promoted to the first team. In grade 5, yeah, I started.
Which was a unique thing as well.
Very unique, and it was quite weird because at the same time, the school setup was the second team and the first team. They all competed. There was a trophy for the second team. There was a trophy for the first team. So second team and first team. So it was actually tough competition for the second team as well, because second team was considered as under 13, you know, and then first team was open.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was playing for the first team in grade 5, but I was also playing for the second team. So I was playing for both. So I would jump from the second team because we had to win that league also. Then I had to go and play for the first team as well. So from grade 5, I was playing for both the first team and the second team.
At any given time, were you given the role of being a captain when you were still at primary school?
I was the captain of the second team when I was in grade 4. I was actually the captain, and I was the captain in grade 5. But in grade 6, I relinquished playing for the second team totally.
Okay.
So I went to play for the first team with
the
big boys. Yeah, I can play with the younger boys. Yeah. So I went. But funny enough, when I was in grade 7, I dropped back to play in the second team.
Why?
Again, because most of my friends were playing the second team. So I was enjoying playing with my friends. So I had to drop back and play with my friends in the second team, then join the first team later on.
You know, those competitions at school, they were very important in their own way at that age. Anything memorable when we were playing the B team versus the senior team at primary school?
To be honest with you, they never really wanted us to play against each other, the first team and the second team. Why? Because at that time it was open. So there was that time there were a lot of guys that were much older that were repeating and that were older than the others. So those ones, they were the ones that used to play for the first team. They used to call it open, So the second team was under 13, so they were younger boys. So they wouldn't want to do that. But competition is in the township. In the township, we know we had Zengeza 1 to Zengeza 8. Then there was St. Mary's 1, and then there was St. Mary's proper. So all those schools, there were like 10 schools. We used to play in a league. It was a very tough league because it pitted the best talent in the township. From Zengeza 1 township to Zengeza 4 township to St. Mary's. The best talent was playing in that league. So it was very, very tough. When we played let's say we were playing against Shingai, that was St. Mary's 1, you would find that's where Stuart Murisa was, and it was like a derby. Zengeza 7 versus St. Mary's 1 was crazy.
Yes.
It was crazy. I don't understand what happened to football here, seriously, because when we were playing, even in primary school, the derby in primary school was fierce. People would come and watch. The fans, there would be a lot of fans. They knew that Zengeza 7 versus St. Mary's 1 is like a serious battle. Then there was a battle between Zengeza 7 and Tangenamo. Tangenamo, there was this guy, Kulmani Nzira. I don't know how he never managed to play in the Premier League, but during that time he was like outstanding, and we used to be scared of him as well. As much as they were scared of me also, I know. But he was brilliant. He was a brilliant footballer, so it was the derby like that. But I think what carried the day for us, we used to beat them though, because I had Robson Somuya.
Don't beat your own chest.
No, I'm not. I'm because the records are there.
Okay.
I had Robson Somuya as my teammate. I had Lawrence Nambirwa. I had Godwin Stone, brilliant player. He could have played, in the Premier League. He could have played overseas, but an injury to him, and he later on passed on. May his soul rest in peace. But he was quite brilliant. I think when I tried to compare with myself, there was no difference with him. With me and him, he was really good. So the three of us, myself, Godwin, and Somuya, we were very good for the other schools in primary school.
Between the three of you.
Yeah.
So the team was built around these three.
Yes, the team was built around those three, and the fact that a lot of people, they knew about us, they was quite popular at school as well, because at times my popularity was amplified by the academic stuff as well, because I was actually good on the academic side. So I was always like the best student in my grade, like every year almost.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for 7 years I was the best student in my grade, not in my class, in my grade 4 times out of the 7 years that I was at primary school, and I was the 3 times I was the second, I was number 2. So it was part of what made me like really popular in the neighborhood. So at Parents' Day I would collect like virtually all the prizes. Prizes for soccer, prizes for academics. Then we go to traditional dance. I would be doing the marimba band
again.
And I used to do almost everything at the primary school.
So you actually danced to the Mchongo or whatever?
Yes, I did. I was a very good player. I started doing Jerusalem in grade 3. I was in the traditional dance. I was in the percussion band, grade 1 and 2. Then from percussion band, I moved to traditional dance. In grade 3, grade 4, I was doubling marimba band and traditional dance.
You were busy, man.
Yeah, I was actually the captain of the marimba band in grade 6 and 7.
Can you still go?
I can.
Really?
I can play marimba band with my eyes closed.
Excellent.
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So your primary was pegged. You actually.
It was action packed. Believe you me.
Hey.
It was action packed. I slowed down in high school, but in primary school I was an athlete as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to do 100 meters, 800 meters at school.
All right.
Yeah. So it was action packed.
Tell us about 1 or 2 matches that you still remember during those days when you were
in primary
school. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether you were beaten or you won.
No, I won't talk about the one that we lost, but because we had lost.
Okay.
But I'll talk about the match that we played against Tangenamu. We were playing at Mberi Primary School. It was a neutral venue that Kulumani Nzira told you about. And there was the guy called Manu. I have forgotten his surname. So before the match, it was like the decider. Because when we got into that match, it was the last game of the season. And guess what? We had won our 8 matches. And they had won their 8 matches. We were level on points. And we were playing against each other. The last match at Mberi Primary School. And our school teacher, the coach, that is Mr. Muzivi, was like scared. He was like really worried. So he was actually making us even more scared. Because he was telling us, you know, Tangenamo is very good. They've got one guy they call Kulumani. For me, he's like a bullet. We call him Bullet. And then they've got the number 5. Big one, he's a Jurao, you know, so they've got Jurao and Bullet. You know, I was so really scared. But when we got there, we did our thing, and I was playing as a center back.
Center back?
Yeah, I was a center back, yes. I was playing as a center back. I
only know you as a striker.
Yes, I was playing, I was now in grade 7. You know, so I was playing center back in the second team and playing up front in the first team. So now, I got the ball like a few minutes before the end. It was 0-0. I took the ball from the back. I just went and dribbled everybody. Yes, and then when I got to the keeper one-on-one, Robson from where I was supporting, I just laid it to him and he finished it off and it was game over. That was one of my most memorable football matches in my life. Not just
and I can imagine
in
those
primary
days
school,
people would just
in my
jump
life.
into the stadium.
The whole school.
Yeah.
Celebrating onto the field because we had won the championship. It was the winner. We won the championship, and I basically took the ball by myself.
How did you celebrate that win?
There was no time to celebrate because the whole school was already inside. the whole school was already inside. They just jumped onto everybody. Yeah, they just lifted everything, and you know, the dust that just goes up, and so there was no time for you to go to the corner flag to do some dances. Nah, there was no time for that. But it was it's one of my most memorable matches in my football history.
That was at the primary, and then where did you go for the secondary?
I went to Zengeza I1 school, just next to Mberi Primary School. It was a bit further away from home, but I think that was the closest high school. My brothers also went to the same high school, so it was inevitable that I would go to that school as well. So yeah, that's where I did. Yeah, I would. No, driven.
Yes.
By who? There was no one who had a car there. To be honest, my childhood was very humble. You know, very humble beginnings, a very humble childhood, and we wouldn't even dream of having a car at that time. You know, because even we didn't even have a television. You know, we would go and watch television next door, you know, or somewhere in
via the kitchen.
And you'd watch TV and all that. So yeah, that's where I went for Form 1 to Form 4.
Okay, and we academic side and the football side. How did it go when you were in secondary?
It was still the same. It was still the same, but now it was now different. It was not like the whole class. Now, obviously, most of the stuff it was per subject. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I was doing well. I think in my class I was always the best history student. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I was such a good history student and a literature student. Yeah, those were my favorite subjects. So it was kind of it was natural. I think it was just something that was natural. But my passion was football.
So when you went to secondary school, the teachers, because they're in the same area, they already knew that
They
you
knew.
were a footballer.
They knew, because one of the teachers at the school was actually, when I was still in primary school playing street football, he stayed in the street behind us. He was actually part of the crew in the street. We used to play against each other with the teacher, but I was much younger.
Okay.
So he was now a teacher at Zengeza High One. So as soon as I got there, so everybody they already knew me already. So they were actually fighting for me to come. A lot of the high schools in the hood, they actually, this thing, which is primary school, they already wanted me at the Zengeza High One. So it was like a coup.
Okay.
For them to
win you
to come to Zengeza High One, yeah. So basically they knew. So, and he was the soccer coach at Zengeza High One.
With that same coach, who knew you from where you were coming from, tell us about the football tournaments now at secondary school, those that you remember and the players that you played with.
I started from one. I was in the under 14 team. We won in our zone. We won in our district. Then we actually ended up in at Churchill. I think we lost in the final to Seketri. Seketri at that time was very strong with players like Gift Mzazi, Edmo Mtsaka, we used to call him Kanyama. They had a very strong side. In my team, I had Innocent Mtasa was in my team. Nyasha, I don't know what was his name, but they were like very good players as well in my under 14 team. Team Stanley and Joseph Malanda, yes, those ones, they were also in my team, and we lost in the final, in the provincial final at Churchill to Seketri. That was a very good start for me in high school, but then in Form 2 because there was under 14, there was under 15, under 17, then first team. Like first team was still open at that time as well. They're calling it under 20 now, but at that time it was like just open. So from Form 2, I went straight to the first team. Yeah. So I started playing I started playing for the first team in Form 2.
And you are not a very tall man. How did you fit in the senior team?
Yeah, Leonard Makankula, he was our coach. He promised to give me. He said he has got a team photo, a lineup. I would want to see that picture, how I looked, because when I look at myself in the Tarenti colors, when I started playing, I was like 3-4 years older then. So I want to see myself from that picture 4 years younger, how I really looked in that picture, So it was not that much difficult. When I spoke about my son that time, I said if there was a brave coach, he would just play him. Because why? Because he's quick, he's skillful, and he has got good balance. So basically those were the very attributes that I had, that I was super quick, I had skill, I had balance, and I was technically sound. So I didn't.
Not to say you were intelligent.
We're talking about football in a football show.
Yeah.
Yes. So I didn't have to give people time to come and bump into me. I played smart. Let's say I played smart.
Like
I played to my strengths. Mm-hmm. So I used to avoid getting the ball to my feet when the defender is onto me. I would rush out, get away from the defender, get it into my feet, because I knew once I have it in my feet, it was secure. Or I get it into space.
Okay.
Whereby I use my speed to go past, then receive the ball behind the defender. So that was my strength, and I think that's what built me over the years, and I developed that further. That, I don't have to be playing tussles and bumping into people, shielding. I just discarded that type of football from the way I played. Okay. So I just grew like that because I was a smaller player. I wasn't big, so I had to play to my strength, and that was speed and skill.
During that time at school, do you remember winning any trophies during the secondary school?
We didn't win any trophies per se, but we won the league in our zone. when I was in Form 2 years, we won the league in our zone, and we went on to play in the district final. We lost in the district final to Seketu. Seketu was quite strong. Remember that Patrick Madinda I talked about? There was Anana Morgan Katazo. There were that Emmanuel Mutimba. You know, they were big stars. They beat us. Yeah, but I think that was the best that we did when I was at Zengeza One, winning a trophy. Now, but there were no trophies anyway. It was just, you have won the league, then you celebrate. There was no presentation of a trophy, nothing. You will just know we have won the league.
Yeah, you go.
You just go sing. We've won the league. You won't even see a shield, nothing. You know, at that time. So so that's what happened. And we didn't really win a lot of things when I was at Zengeza One.
That's the end of your secondary education. And where did you go for your A levels?
I started my A level at Zengeza One High. Then I think the football started in the first term, towards the end of the first term. So we actually played one match against Zengeza 2 High. I played in that match. We beat them 4-0, and I scored 3. And everybody was so optimistic about our soccer team there, because I had formed a very good combination with Patrick Daka. Patrick Daka had just joined. He was at Zengeza 4 High. He had also joined for A level at Zengeza High 1. So everyone was excited about Zengeza High 1. But then Wislav Grabowski had other ideas, because I was missing a lot of training, because at that time soccer at school was very important. It was huge. So you wouldn't just leave school to go and play club football. You have to play for the school first. School was more important than club football at that time. So I was missing a lot of training, because we had to train every day at school. And then Darren T wanted me at training every day. So it was clashing. Those clashes, now Grabowski was not really happy with them. So he decided to transfer me from Zengeza High 1 to Prince Edward. So he made those arrangements. So second term, until team Katanga A level, you join the others towards the end of the first term, after my results and all that. So second term, everybody. But when you're popular, I think news travel. So they already knew that I was at Prince Edward Boys High School. So I transferred from Zengeza High 1 to Prince Edward.
Before this initiative of you being transferred from Zengeza, how did you meet Grabowski?
It's okay. We were playing when I was in Chitungwiza. I was playing for Darren T under 16 at that time. So we won the Harare region finals, the league, right? The Bona League. We won the Harare region. So what they used to do, there was a very vibrant junior league at that time. So every year, the winners of the under 14, under 16, and under 18 leagues in the northern region would go and meet the winners of the same age groups in Blaawai or the southern region. They meet in the final at Baba Fields. So it was tradition. The final was at Baba Fields all the times. So we won in Harare, and we had to go and play against Highlanders in Blaawai at Baba Fields. So it was a big match for us, and everybody was excited about Darren T. That was the first time Darren T.
Darren T.
Darren Textiles.
Yes.
Okay, it's a textiles. Yes, it's a textiles. It was sponsored by Contextiles. Yeah. See what they did with the Contextiles. There were two teams in the first division, Contextiles and Darren Textiles. Darren Textiles was sponsored by the sister company in Bare, and Contextiles by the other company in Chitungwiza. Okay. So when there was an opportunity for Darren Textiles and Contextiles, they were owned by the same person. So there was an opportunity to merge with Tornadoes. Yeah, so when there was that opportunity, he first merged the Contextiles and Darren Textiles to be one team. Then it was Darren Textiles. Then they went to merge with Tornadoes. Then they decided to call it Darren. They removed the Textiles and joined with the Tornadoes. So it was Darren Tornadoes. So that was the first merger. Then when the president at that time, Kenan Banana, decided to move out of football with his Tornadoes part, Then the team went back to the original owners, but in the Premier League now. So now it was Darren Tornadoes. So they just, I think they didn't want to mess around with the names. So they removed the Tornadoes Textiles. It was both a T.
A T, yes.
Yeah, so they just decided to call it Darren T. They removed the Textiles Tornadoes and they just say Darren T. Okay. So that's how it came to be Darren T. So we went to beat Islanders in Blawayo under 16, and when we won the league here, Grabowski, and he was the head coach of Darren T first team. And so everyone was excited. So what he did was he called us to his house before we went, and he gave us a pep talk, and he actually gave us the first team kit. So we actually went to use the first team kit in Blawayo. Smart, you know, the green and white striped, you know, we were like, we were
not wearing football shoes?
Yes, no, I was. Otherwise you wouldn't play in Baba Field with no boots. So we went to Blawayo, we managed to beat Islanders 2-0, won the national championship. At that time, we were lucky that Peter didn't play. Peter was in that team, but he didn't play.
Right.
Yeah, but guys like Gift Lunga, Senior, Benjamin Bunjira, Metembe, they all played. They were there when we beat them. But Peter had come with the first team to Harare. He was part of the first team already. Yeah, so he had come to play in the Silver Cup here with the Islanders first team. So we were lucky he didn't play, so we beat them without him. Yeah, so all of a sudden we're the national champions. And so Grabowski was very excited about it, and he just said, you know what, the whole team that went to Blawayo, I want to train with them. They need to start training with me here. And that's how we started. I was in Form 3 at that time. Yeah, okay. So we started training with, they would pick us up by the context I was bus to, we were here by Reserve Bank Sports Club. Okay. So yeah, that's where Darren T used to train at that time. So we used to come and train with the first team. We were very young, we were little boys. You know, it was myself, the ones that got to be prominent at that time. It was myself, Norman Mapeza, Alois Chitembwe, and Stuart, Murisa, and Gift Mzadzi. Those are the ones. Then later on, when we were now there, Edo Bedina also came to join us as well. So we were like a bunch of these youngsters that he started nurturing. That's how he got to. So by the time I was in Form 4, I was already his kid. Okay. I was just like his little boy.
Tell us about the advantage. You now have Grabowski, a very technical man who is also impacting in your life as a footballer, and you're also at Prince Edward. How did that help?
It really did help. You know, he was a very good man, very generous at that, because he took us in like his own sons. You know, like myself and Stuart. You know, so when he moved me from Zengeza, he did the same with Stuart. Now Stuart was Zengeza too high, so he moved both of us to Prince Edward, and to avoid transport and everything, then he started renting a flat for us in town.
At that age?
Yeah, at that age, yeah. Yeah, I started renting a flat for us at Coronet Court in town, just by Corner 4th and Nelson Mandela. Yeah, that's where we were staying, and that's where Debbie Mankinga was staying when he brought Debbie Mankinga. He was
from Zambia.
From Zambia, yeah. We were staying with Debbie Mankinga at that flat. Yeah. So basically that's how we moved to. It was quite good, because now we were training more, because we would finish school at 1 o'clock. And now, at that time, now we were now training at Prince Edward Boys High School as well. So we would just stay, we would just change after school, we would just change into our kit, start training ahead of the others. Before the others came at 4 o'clock, we'd be like already training. We did a lot of training. You know, that's why I always tell the youngsters of today that if you want to succeed, you train with these. People will see us as successful, how good we were, but they don't know how much work we put in. We trained. You know, when it comes to Grabowski, this technical ability that we have is because we trained. Every day. Sometimes we would just, the whole 1 hour, 2 hours, train with a tennis ball without shoes. Yeah. People think it's a job. Like a tennis ball, little tennis ball. Play. Or play ball in the air, juggling the tennis ball without shoes.
Yeah, I remember that technique, but it was now behind the National Sports Stadium where Darren T was playing. That's the first time I realized that, you know, a football team in a football team at a training, everyone can have their own ball. When I visited from Bunjira, I see everyone has got his own ball that they are juggling.
So
and I was given mine, and I could not do it because I wasn't used to having a football.
You can't be a footballer if you can't juggle it.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, if you can't juggle it, then you can't. You need to have a relationship with the ball. The ball must love you. You must love the ball. You must love each other. You must do things with the ball. You know, if you go that way, the ball must follow you.
Right.
So
yeah.
that was his idea. If you look at most players that came through Darren, they're technically sound. Not because they were technically gifted, they are technically sound because they trained. They trained for it because we used to technical drills. We used to train a lot of them. You know, the goals. People would see me scoring first-time volleys, one-time volleys. They would think that it's natural talent. Yes, natural talent comes, but most of it was training because those things would train. Cross it first time. Cross, you would tell it to 50 balls, cross, just use your left, hit it first time. You would hit it even if your leg gets sore, you hit it with your left. If he says you are hitting with the left, you are hitting every ball of the 20, of the 30 with your left. Volley, one technique until you master it.
Okay, so you owe a lot to Grabowski.
Yes, I do. You know, when I talk about my football history, and the people hear me a lot talking about Grabowski, and they say, but Grabowski only saw you when you were 15. When you were 15, what about the other guys that groomed you? Yes, I do. I do owe them a lot. I do acknowledge them, but I have to be honest. I come with honesty. You know, yes. Let's say Never Gombera scouted me. I was playing for Black Rhinos juniors at that time. Then he took me from Black Rhinos to Darren T, under 16. So I only played for 2 years with Never Gombera in the under 16 team because I jumped from the under 16 to the reserve side to the first team, you see. So for those 2 years, yes, he was coaching me, but what he impacted into me is not anywhere close to what Grabowski impacted into me. Yes, Never Gombera was like a father figure. He was a father figure. Yes. He's the one who put me together with other guys like Norman. He put the team together. So credit to him, you know. But most of the time, the training was, you see, those, like you talked about, having one ball per person. It was not there. We would just go there, probably we have got 3-4 balls for the whole age groups, and we would just play game. Most of the training sessions were like games. So at that time, it was more of being organized. So Gombera and the other coaches before him, they helped with organization to put me there in the space where football is organized and train every day regularly for my fitness and my sharpening my individual skill. So most of it, I was carried by natural talent. Whereas when I got to Grabowski, I was polished.
Right.
That's the difference. I got polished because when I arrived at Grabowski, I had never been told that, no, the way you are hitting this ball is not correct. You must hit it this way. Everything that I was doing at that time was just from me, what I learned in the street.
Okay.
Then when I went to Grabowski, now I was like I was at the University of Football. Now I was being told you can't kick the ball that way. It's like you are disabled people.
Okay.
You can't kick the ball like a woman. Are you kicking the ball like a woman? He would tell you that straight away. Why are you kicking the ball? Why are you walking like a pregnant woman? It's not. You know, it was not derogatory. It was more like a joke.
Yeah.
You know.
But
he's trying to mold you. So he would tell you that you don't kick the ball. You know, for the first time, I was told when I'm hitting a shot, I can't lean forward. I can't lean backwards. I have to lean forward. That was the first time I was hearing it. Everything else was natural. And I was told that when you hit the ball, your leg must be like this, straight up, and hit it like a karate punch. I started hearing it from him, but it made sense. And when I started doing it, and suddenly the keepers were running away from the shots.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up, but now I was being taught to do it better, to do things better than I used to do. You know, when I used to want the ball in my feet, I was now told, get it there. When you're crossing, cross it this way. You see, so those kind of combinations, you started getting into combinations, started getting taught a lot more things, modern football. And by the way, Grabowski was
moving away from Boramondo to pinpoint passes.
Yes. Now, Grabowski didn't really love that passing game as well.
Right.
You know, so he developed me to a certain level. Then other people took over. Other people took over from there. But I think the basics of being a good footballer, I think I learned from Grabowski. But the foundation, it was from Anana Neva Kombera and Kasper Mkara, the ones that coached me in the junior setup. They gave me the foundation, but the basics I got them from Grabowski.
Let's go back to Prince Edward. The competitions. You are now a polished player. What did you achieve then?
At Prince Edward, I thought it was unfair. You know, if I had my way, they would say we were supposed to be disqualified. We were not supposed to play. You know, in our zone, that is. But unfortunately, we couldn't put those kind of rules because in our zone we were too good. Because we're now playing in the Premier League as well. Because I got into the Premier League when I was just before I finished Form 4. So in Form 5 I was like a full Premier League player together with Stuart. And then there was also Gilbert Mshangashike coming from Zimbabwe Crackers. He was also at the school. From Fire Batteries, I mean. He was also at the school. There was Patrick Mangawa. He was also at the school. There was Lloyd Gonde. He was at the school. He was playing for what's called Lancashire Steel. You know, the Nelson Nankwala was at Acadia. You know, so we were this, and Conrad Chikoto as well. He was at Blackpool at that time. So we were like a team of Premier League players already at that time. So we were beating a lot of teams. So the biggest achievement though was, I think, somebody was talking about it on Facebook. Was it the day before yesterday? You know, when I talked about the Wange goals that I scored on Facebook, he was saying, I remember we scored because we beat them 21-0 at Poet.
That's when you scored how many goals?
I scored 14.
Was that still football or net?
Yeah, that was the record. I kept on going with the ball. Each time I took it, I was just going to score. Okay. Yeah, it was like I wanted to punish them. I was just took it and kept on.
Was it because they were too poor or
they were not good? They were not. I think it's sport. You see, it was an extreme that they were not good. We were good, and we just kept on hammering them.
So from there, how did you develop now as a professional player? You are now at Darren T. Tell us your first day when you hit the stories on the back lines of the newspapers.
You see, the way we got promoted was kind of like bizarre. You know, there was a time that at first before Grabowski took over, there was Deputy Mandigora and Armando Ferreira. They actually once invited me to train with the first team, and we went to play some gala at Acadia, but they just they thought they were just trying to lift me up because I was a little kid but very good, and they'd already seen the talent. So when Grabowski came and we started training with the first team, at that time he decided to form the reserve side. We became the reserve side of Darren T. So at that time, Anana Dave Tungwanza, Mgoemyorovi, Anana Godfrey Paradza, John Piri, that was the Darren T, you know, the Darren T, yes. So it just so happened, Grabowski used to make a lot of trips to Poland. So they played a game at Trofaro Stadium, they won a league match. So, you know, winner today, your bonuses will come on the Monday, or it comes on the Tuesday. So most of the Darren T players, they were already working for Context Styles. So most of the time they were getting their bonuses on the Monday. Yeah. You see. So Grabowski, after the game, he had a flight to Poland. So he flew out straight after the game. So apparently he is the one who was now collecting the money and giving the players the money at training.
And this time he went out.
So he went away. Right. So now the players, they wanted their money. And Grabowski was not there on Monday. He was not there on Tuesday. And now on Wednesday, the players decided to boycott training. You see, as Tangatubana to Tamba Reserve to train. And then Gombera was there. Gombera promoted together with us. So he came and say, guys, when I was my first team, I was going to train. So let's train. So we trained. So Grabowski and his runner and it's sporadic.
Sporadic.
Yeah, sporadic. Now calls Grabowski and say, the first team guys refused to train. He said, why? He said, because they got no money. He said, but I'm coming with the money next week. And my players are next week on Wednesday, the players come again. And they boycott training. Then sporadic calls again to Grabowski and said, the players refused to train. And then over that, during that weekend, we were playing against Black Aces, the first team. That is Black Aces in the quarterfinal of the Castle Cup. You see, and the guys are not training. So Grabowski said, you know what? You know, Grabowski is very short-tempered. Yes. He has got a very short temper. He said, you know what? This is not a league match. It's a cup game. And we are playing against the champions elect because Black Aces were blazing at that time. Good, yes, and now Wilfred Gay, and John Bidzo, William Gay, at that time, Shinginya Mazao, they were still Stanley Masheja, Person was, that was like their team. So he was like, we're going to lose anyway. So you know what? Tell them they can go home. These boys, the reserve side team, they will play in the cup game against Aces. In that time, Gagwanga said one is when you register 25 players. You could register a player the day before the match and play. Yeah. So we took to register my details, everything. Yeah. Then we taken to Zifa. We got registered. But it was like a shock for us because we knew Aces were like blazing. Yeah. We're like, what? Yeah. So I was in Form 4 at that time. So everybody, no matter it just finished school and we were kids. Then 3 o'clock. So the guys in the first team, when they heard that we were now playing in the first team, they were like, these boys want to let time to ban it would. Grabowski no fight is our man and time to ban it would to time it would. And John Bidzo. Jinda katopiwa example because anzika kampana Bunjira kanga magana na John Bidzo ikaga. Imagine. So now the game day come and I was on the bench. Gondera put me on the bench. I was very comfortable. It was fine because it was scary inside me. So we played and played and played. 90 minutes. 0-0.
It is a cup match.
Yes. 0-0. Extra time. We played first half 0-0. Now my champions were. After dropping to high school. One Wakashamiswa, they were surprised. Then 3 minutes left. Then William Gay scores. Gift Mzazi. Gift Mzazi was we were in the same stream. They never get. He was a small boy. Yes, he was a small boy. Taroa 1-0. Then when Grabowski was told now, straight after the match, he asked, what was the result? Tajigom extra time was at 3 minutes. Really? You know what he did? When he came back, he brought the first team players. He said, I don't want you around anymore. I'm carrying on with, because we were in a comfortable position, I think. He said, I'm carrying on with these youngsters, though our first team. Maybe we can get your clearance. You can go to Pelegara's office, get your clearances. You go. So that was it. Then he just went behind. Then he persuaded John Piri, Rafael Kaundera, Jafet Mparutsa, I think I wanted Timothy, and Manzini. Those were the only players that he kept. Then the rest, he let them go.
That was the end of their playing times at
and that's how we started playing. And then he went to Zambia, he brought David Mankinga. And
that
was it. That's how we started playing. So the next season, I was not a regular during that time because my position, it was David Mankinga who was playing. Of course. He was playing. So I was actually a regular substitute. So the next season, 1992, David Mankinga went to Saudi Arabia and I took over, and suddenly I was...
Tell us your first match. You have been warming the bench this time.
Yes.
Now you are in.
Suddenly I am in. I think we played against Mangura at Gwanzura Stadium. That was actually my debut match. I announced in first 11. So we played. I think I went for about 5 matches without scoring. and I was getting the chances I was missing. And there was a time I actually went to complain to the Secretary General in Zajawa. I was feeling dejected. You know, I was missing a lot of chances. You know, when you miss chances, I almost quit.
Okay.
You know, but when I started scoring, it just happened, and I actually ended up being the top goal scorer for the team that year.
That year?
Yeah.
Tell us about your first goal.
Year. My first goal came
after a drought period of obviously.
Yeah, my first goal came when you played Zisco Steel at Redcliffe. You know Zisco Steel. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I scored my first goal, and it was a relief, and it was amazing. You know, it was amazing, and I was fired up. I think that's when everything just started.
Was it after dribbling?
Started clicking. No, it was a cross. Usman Misi was playing on the right. So he dribbled everybody, he made a cross. I was coming into the box, so I tapped it in. Yeah. So it was not a difficult goal, but it was a very important goal for me because it broke the dark, and suddenly I was because I grew up scoring goals. You know, from primary school, I was just scoring goals. I was just a goal scorer. That's why I got frustrated when I was not scoring goals. You know, but when I started scoring for T, then I just started scoring.
Tell us about this scoring spree that just came from there, and you ended up.
I scored 13 goals at that time. I think cup and league goals. I scored 13, and including that double against Cape United in the Castle Cup final. That was the year as well. That was my first year. Yeah, that was my first year in the Premier League.
Why did you score against your childhood team? You are a supporter for Cape United, and you are playing against them. What motivated you?
I think it was the excitement.
Right.
It was the excitement, and I think for me also I had this. You know, when I'm playing, I think I got into somebody else. I would be somebody else. I'm a different person. If you see me playing on the field, and the person that is sitting with you here, they're two different people.
Characters,
yeah, two different people. So I got into someone else when I got onto the field, and Grabowski used to tell us that when you get into the field, it was when he's talking, it was more like he's joking, but it's like he will be it's like a hypnosis. He's hypnotizing you, because it so happened once you get onto the field, he used to say when you get onto the field you must have wood before brain. You know, remember we didn't have a lot of support. Yeah. So most of the teams that we were playing against, let's say we go to Mangura, there are a lot of supporters. We go to Zisco Steel, you know. So for him to help us, we were young. He said, put wood before your brain. You know, wood is a bad conductor, right? Okay. So he said, block your eyes, your ears, your senses from your brain. Put a wood. In between, so that it doesn't communicate. All you know you're doing is doing what you know. So when you get the ball, you're doing what we know. With the ball, you don't hear the sound, you don't see the big player, you don't see this is Joel Shambo. You are just playing football.
All right.
Yeah, so that's how he encouraged us as youngsters, because he knew we would panic. Okay. That's why even when we went to Highlanders against Dynamos, you would never allow us to go for warm-up. Never. Would never go for warm-up against big teams.
Because you'd be intimidated?
Yes.
Okay.
We would never. We would warm up in the changing room. He would never allow us. He would never allow us. We would just go before kickoff, go out and play. So you would know that by the time we get into we've got our wood. We've got our wood before brain.
Okay, your eyes on the ball.
Eyes on the ball. Focus. You know, once you are focused, you play. So that's how we. So we started. I just started scoring goals, and I became me.
And then I want to hear you about the back pages when you started reading about yourself. It was quite exciting. You know, it's very unfortunate that I actually lost the book that I used to take all my newspaper cuttings. I used to cut them. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Treasure.
Treasure gold. Whenever I think about it, I get depressed. But I used to cut to get all the newspaper cuttings. Because when I was growing up, it was my hobby already to cut my cuttings. Soccer players and and the soccer book. Yeah, Nesipo, Nema bubble gum. Yes, that one. So we used to do that. So suddenly I was playing. So I started doing for myself. Now it was my pictures, my newspaper cuttings, my stories when I score, my headlines. It was exciting. But the best one was after Cape United. After Cape United, we played on a Saturday. So it was the Sunday Mail. And I remember it was Tinaya Garande. Yes. May he so rest in peace. Very good journalist, that one. There was a headline. It was me running away from Steve Chkodzi with the ball. And the big headline was Prince Edward Schoolboy destroys Cape United.
That headline.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what that deadline did to my headmaster? It made me his best friend at school. I was his best student. Because what he did now, Mr. Clive Barnes, he brought the newspaper to assembly on a Monday.
Right.
He came with the paper and he read the story at assembly. Then I was called up to come to the front.
From the intro?
Yes.
To the last
he read. Because there was a court. And Prince Edward. Then there was a court, quotable courts, they used to do it. It was exciting. My journalists what happened? So they were quotable courts. So I was one of the people that was quoted. They said, I'm very excited about winning and I dedicate this win to my school. And, they give me time to practice and they encourage me, my schoolmates, my everybody. So basically it was more to do with Prince Edward and the school, So he was very happy about it. So he read everything about that. Then I was brought forward and everybody clapped hands for me. And then I was given school colors. I was awarded school colors.
What do you mean by that?
Group A schools, we used to have like Nyembe.
Okay.
Nyembe, like it's a badge. Oh yeah, those are like badges.
Okay.
Those are like badges. I already had a badge when I was playing for the under-17, under-20 national. So when I arrived at Prince Edward, automatically I qualified for half colors.
Okay.
The half colors. So half colors is like when the other guys are wearing striped ties, Prince Edward striped ties, I was allowed to wear a solid maroon tie. So that's a half color.
Okay.
So I qualified for that. So as soon as I arrived at Prince Edward, I was already a half color student. Because I was already playing. That one you get when you're playing for a provincial select or for a junior national team. So I already did. So I had that. So when I did that, so it's supposed to be given to a player that is playing for a national team, a full senior national team, the full colors. You see, so yes, so I got it from that because I was now playing in the Premier League and what I'd done in the Castle Cup quarter final, and I was given the full colors at that time. But guess what? If he had not given me those colors, I was gonna get the colors the next day. Anyway,
because you were graduating to the senior national team.
Exactly. Because I was called up the very next day to the senior national team.
And who was the coach for the national team?
Reinhard Fabish. Reinhard Fabish. The good thing is he actually came.
What is called the dream team.
Yes. He actually came himself. The team was already in camp, preparing for the match against Egypt here. So he actually came himself to the school. He was watching. He was at the match against Cape United. So I think I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't know. So he came. He actually came to the school. So I was actually in class when I was called by a prefect. He just came to my physics class and told the teacher, Mr. Dekune, he stammered. Mr. Dekune stammered. So you see, Mr. Dekune went to the door. We were in the physics lab. So the physics lab is like my desk very far away from the teacher, from the teacher. Okay. Yes, So he went to the door. Everybody were behind. So he speaks to the prefect, and then he was like, Bunjira, you're wanted by the headmaster in his office. So everybody like looked at me. What did I do?
Yeah.
You know. So unfortunately, that morning I had come to school late. You know. So I just started thinking, was it because I was late, or what? I don't know. Then I just went with the prefect. You see. So when I got to the headmaster's office, there was Renat Fabish, the visitor's chair, and our chair. Sit. I was like, oh, okay. Then the headmaster broke it to me that he is here to congratulate you for the good game yesterday on Saturday.
Is it?
And yeah, and then you're supposed to go to the camp.
Oh,
for the national team. They're already in camp, so you've been called up.
At what age?
Then I was excited. I was 17.
Yeah.
I was very excited. And you know, I couldn't believe it. You know, when you are reading, you know, even if I was playing in the Premier League, it didn't dawned into me that I was playing. I was still the little boy who still wanted to take newspaper cuttings of other players. You know, if you see my room, when I was already playing, I still had my pictures. Anana, Max Maponyane, Mark Fish, South African national team was my favorite. Bafana. I still had their pictures, but I was also already playing. But I still had continued with, I was still a kid, I still was doing the same thing. So I was still cutting my pictures and Peter and Moses Chunga at that time. So yes, so I was like, okay. But then the headmaster was quick to say, but you cannot just go. Because he knew I was staying in town. Because when I went to Prince Edward, it was an arrangement between Krabowski and the headmaster. Yes. So he knew, but he said, but you have to go home. To your parents, they have to inform your parents because you're still a school kid.
Seek consent.
Yes. So a delegation was organized from the national team to go to my house in Zengeza. Yes. So it was John Piri, it was Willard Kumalo, Francis Shonai, and Sunday Chitambo. Yeah. At that time. So we went with the Zimbabwean motor at that time, you know, my Benz. So we went after school. Yes, those ones. So we went with that to my parents, and my parents were also as shocked as I was, but they allowed me because I was promised to know they would take care of me. Yeah. So that's how I did.
You were in the national team?
Yeah, so that was my Prince Edward thing. So the first game, I was actually, it was unbelievable as well because we were in camp and I didn't take part in a lot of training, like in the mornings, because I was going to school, then going to training in the evening. So it was, it came as a surprise. So when the team was announced, we were playing against Zambia, in Zambia. I think because I had missed the Egypt game, I didn't play because I had to go. I went with the under 20 because somehow the under 20 and the senior national team they were playing at the same time. We were playing against Egypt as well. So we played in Egypt. So I was taken from national team came to go to the under 20s because that's where I was going to give Zimbabwe more because I was not a regular with the senior team. So they agreed that I go with the under 20s. So I went with the under 20s. And when we came back now, I went back into camp. That's where Zimbabwe won. We beat Egypt 2-1. Peter scored the second goal, very beautiful goal. We had come back because we played in Egypt on the Friday, under 20. Then we landed on the Saturday evening. Then I went straight to camp, and I was put on standby. So I was part of I didn't play that one. But the next game was Zambia, in Zambia, and I was actually in the team.
First 11 or?
No, not in the first 11. I was on the bench. Yes. So I got in about, I think, the last 18 minutes. Yeah, the game that we drew 0-0 before the air disaster, Zambia. Yeah, that was my first game. I didn't do much. I think I touched the ball twice. But that was also Norman Mapesa's debut as well. Because Norman played at right back. Surprisingly, he took off Rambo and put Norman Mapesa. Nomara played a blinder. He played a blinder in that game. Yeah, he played a blinder. But that was my first game with the senior national team. Yeah.
So after you are now in the national team, you are at Darren T. How did you end up at Caps United?
I first joined Blackpool before Cape United.
Yes, okay.
Before Cape United.
Yes.
So yeah, so what we did after Darren T, Darren T, the problem with Darren T, after my A levels, I got a scholarship. I got a full scholarship to go to the United States. That's where I first went, to Western Kentucky University.
Okay.
Then I didn't complete because there was a big offer that came along from Europe that I decided to take up. So I flew back here and met up with Grabowski. I think I did only 2 semesters in the United States.
Right.
Yes. So when I came back, I met up with Grabowski at Nikos with the team manager and the secretary. I don't know what was his position. They flew from Turkey. They came. Then we met up at Nikos and the discussion was done. And they also wanted Stuart at that time. And it was supposed to happen, but unfortunately, I don't know, there was a glitch that happened, and now they later on wanted me alone, and I then missed my flight, and it's a whole long story.
Okay.
I missed the flight. I ended up not going. Then I continued playing with Darren T at that time. Then that was the very year that Darren T was banned. Remember, at the end of the season, they deducted 21 points, then they deducted another 6. They wanted Darren T to get relegated. We ended up not getting relegated, and then they banned the team.
Okay.
You see, that was 1994.
Politics.
Yes. So when Darren T was banned, we had no way. We started looking for a team to join. We tried to join Dynamos because Morrison Stellan came for us.
Yeah.
We met him up. We met him at Kurima House at his office, and we talked. But Grabowski wouldn't hear any of it. He refused. Because I'm also and younger chairman with PS and do banner Darren T. So I thought banner players. He said it's not going to happen. So we ended up going to Blackpool. So unfortunately, Cape United didn't come knocking.
Okay.
I don't know who was in charge at Cape United at that time. They didn't come knocking.
But Ronnie Chota was there.
Yes. So they came knocking, and it was a flamboyant club.
I know. Yeah.
So we yes. Yeah. And I also think that it was also influenced by Alex Manawa and Vusila here. They were my friends. They were good friends with Stuart as well. We were a group of 4. My junior national teams under 20 and we were always together. Yeah. So now it made it easier for us to join Blackpool Plus because also I idolized Joe Shambo. There was Shekma. I grew up supporting Cape United. Yes. And Joe Shambo and Cape and Sheki were the coaches at Blackpool. So it made it so much easier that I was now getting coached by people that I used to like. But Joe Shambo, I had played against Joe Shambo in that cup final as well. So he knew what I can do because I used to. Yeah. So it was easier. Then we joined Blackpool. So unfortunately, Blackpool, we didn't get along well after. I joined Blackpool just before, because when I came, I went to Poland first. I went to Poland, then I didn't like it in Poland, to be honest. I didn't like it in Poland. Then I went to Slovakia. So I played for about 5 months in Slovakia. Then that's when I came back to join Cape United. Because in Blackpool, I think I left Blackpool around September, October. Then I went to Slovakia. Then I came in March 1996 to join Cape United. I think Cape United had played about 2 matches in the league. That's when I joined in 1996. I played my first game for Cape United the very first day that I landed.
Okay.
In the country.
Right.
It was.
You won the team card.
it was a cup final. It was the charity. So they played the league. Maybe there was this charity. I know Supera. That they beat Highlanders. Cape United beat Highlanders in the semi-final in that charity shield. Then they were playing. The next week they were now playing Blackpool in the final of the charity shield in 1996. I have the medal. It's at my mother's house. Okay. That was my very first medal at Cape United. So what happened is, when we were in the camp with Blackpool, before I left for Slovakia, Shepard Bwanya knew I was leaving for Slovakia, and he knew that I didn't want to go back to Blackpool because of some squabbles that we were having at Blackpool. So we were in the national team camp preparing for the Nigeria game, the Olympic qualifier. So he came, to camp at the university, and he says you wanted me and Stuart to come to Cape United. Then I said, but myself, I'm going to Slovakia. He said, no, if it doesn't work, we're going to Poland. So if it doesn't work well, you will sign with us. If it doesn't work well, you come and join Cape United. And we agreed on that one. So they registered me with the contract. We had the contract. They registered me, but I didn't have to play for them. Okay. So I left.
For Cape United?
I left for Slovakia.
Okay, for Slovakia.
Yeah. So when I came back, the day I came back, they were playing in the final against Blackpool. I landed around 10 in the morning. So I went to the camp to just greet the guys. Stuart, my best friend, was there. So he told me I'm in camp. So I said, I'll pass by. So when I got there, they were having pre-match meal, breakfast. So I sat with the guy, greeted everyone, and I sat with the guys to talk.
Okay.
Then the coach comes.
All right.
Anton Kambani says, okay, Alois, can we talk? Okay. Then I said, yeah. Then he asked me, do you want to play?
Yeah.
I'm like, I had never trained with Cape United even for one single day.
Right.
He said, yeah, do you have your kids? And I said, yeah, I'm coming from Europe. I have got my kids. I'm coming from football. I have my kids. Yeah. And I said, okay. So, let me talk to Steve. Steve Kwashi. Then they went to talk to Steve. He comes back and said, you stay. You are in the team.
Team card.
Yes.
I'm not trainer now.
Not even one day.
Right.
Not even one day. Yeah. And nobody knew. Even the fans, the journalists, they didn't know that I had signed for Cape United. Nobody knew. Mr. Shaban just kept it secret. Didn't tell anyone. Nobody knew that I had signed for Cape United. Everybody knew that I was in Slovakia. So when I came back, when I was in the team now, I didn't know. So team talk was at 1 o'clock. So after we eat, I go pre-match meal and another team. Yes. Then I went to Stuart's room. Stuart was camping. Stuart was there. I think he was with George Mdi or something. So no, he was with Ernest Chirambada. Okay. So I went. I said no. He was with George. Yeah, he was with George Mdi. So I sat in the room, and after at 1 o'clock we went to I think it was Silver's room for team talk, and the team was announced. And I'm in the first 11.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah,
in this first 11. Yeah. Yes, you're playing in the first 11.
All right.
Then I was like, okay, fine, I'm ready. I traveled because when I came, I traveled from Slovakia to Austria to the flight took me to Holland. Then from Holland, that's when I took the Royal Dutch to fly direct to Harare. So you can imagine how tired I was.
Jet lag.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was there.
Fatigue.
Yeah. So I played. Then the game comes. And Steve Kwashi, I think he did it deliberately though. I think he did it deliberately because he didn't talk to me throughout. But and everything, I'm team, he didn't talk to me. So when we arrived, until City and goals. And when the entrance, so the bus was packed. The players were going straight to ground. I don't know change. So bus like a miracle. So for money, that's when Steve Kwashi stopped me. Then he set me down and he started giving me instructions. That's when he started giving me instructions.
Just to gel you with the other guys who were training together.
Yeah. So he started giving me instructions. We are playing on the left. Stuart is playing in the midroom. Morgan is playing on the right. And this is how I want you to play. But don't worry, you can play wherever you want. Yeah, then he told me how he wants to play. The best thing that he said was feel free to talk to either Morgan or Stuart, just wherever you want to play, let them, because I've already told them, because you're coming from far, you must, so you're supposed to be the one who is more flexible. So if you decide you want to go and play on the right, just let them know you want to you are one who feel comfortable, but you're starting on the left. Fine. Then I jump out all by myself and I'm getting onto the field.
And everyone is
And
watching.
everyone is watching.
And they know
And
you.
you remember, yeah, because it was after 1995, the All Africa Games, remember?
Yes.
Yes. So everybody was shocked to see me wearing a Cape United jersey running onto the field. It was like the stand was like was gonna collapse. I never received such applause, innovation at any
From
club.
Cape United fan.
Yeah.
And this is a childhood team.
Yes.
Now you are in there.
The green that came out of that stand, you would
Yeah.
think that it was good. Or if more stage at TV.
And you remember you hit them when you were
Yes, that I had them. Now I was with them.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And I went for warm up. And even the Blackpool, you could see the Blackpool players were shocked.
Yeah.
Everybody was shocked. Because what time was noisy. All of a sudden, Alois, where is it coming from?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. So that was my very first game. And guess what? I was the man of the match. We beat them 1-0. Yeah.
You're serious?
Yes.
No training with the team?
No training, nothing.
First match
from Europe. I was man of the match and I was actually given man of the match award. Yes, so that's how I started my career at Cape United. I created the goal, dribbled past Alex Manawa, cross and drew to the header. And we beat them 1-0. We won. That was my first match, first trophy, first medal.
Really?
Yes.
Childhood team.
Childhood team. Everything came together.
What a memory for you. Okay, now we are at Cape United. There were derby matches with teams like Dynamos and other teams. Which one do you remember most?
You see, for me, Dynamos, we already had a grudge against Dynamos when I was still at Tarnity. Because Grabowski hated Dynamos with everything that he had. So whenever we were playing against Dynamos, he would hammer it into our heads that he doesn't like Dynamos. So we had this natural grudge against Dynamos. So it was kind of natural when we started playing against Cape United. It was just fire. We just like fired up. You know, to perform against the Dynamos. Remember, we almost trained Dynamos and Grabowski was like, no ways. So deep down, you know, we knew the Dynamos was not our friend. You know, so yeah, so that's what the spirit was. So for me, I think the biggest derby was against Dynamos. Then also the matches against Islanders were very intense. Were very intense as well. Yeah.
Any besides those your first game? Any other memorable match at Cape United?
I had a lot of memorable matches, but I can pick a few. I would like to pick a few. I hope the Cape United fans that are listening to this, I can take you back down memory lane. My very first hat-trick at Cape United, it came in the first league match of the season for Cape United. That one was at Bunjira Stadium. We beat Wange 6-2. I scored 3. So for me, Bunjira used to be packed with Cape United fans, so it was brilliant. So that was one of my most memorable matches. Then the other one, 1996 as well, was the game against Chapungu in Gweru. 12 minutes, I had scored a hat-trick. We were leading 3-0. So a lot of Cape United fans know that if you ask them a lot who used to travel with the team, because they got a breakdown. One of the buses got a breakdown, the other ones were trying to help the other ones, so they all got late to the stadium. They got into the stadium when it was like 15 minutes gone. They couldn't believe it that it was already 3-0.
And Alex Bunjira.
Yes, I scored the hat-trick. The first goal was 37 seconds. That was my quickest ever goal. 37 seconds, bang, yes. So that was one of my most memorable matches as well. And then it can take me to 1997. 1997 against Wange. Again, Wange used to be my favorite team. You know, we beat them 4-0 at Trufaro Stadium. I scored 4. It was like one of my most memorable performances, outstanding performances, because all the goals I hit them from outside of the box.
Okay.
All of them. I was drilling them. You know, so it was quite good, quite nice. Then there was also the match against Dynamos, the BP League Cup final. You know, the replay. We beat them 3-2. I scored 2, including the first 2 goal and the winner. You know, that was actually outstanding, because that one, it's double-edged, because it pleased Cape United. You know, it was nice to always please Cape United fans. It was the match that they always wanted to win.
Yes.
They always wanted us to beat Dynamos. And for me to deliver that victory for them was actually quite brilliant.
Yeah, your first time on a sports calendar.
My first time was my first full season in the Premier League. The very first one when we beat Cape United, when I got called for the national team. That year, 1992, is my golden year. It's like very golden because it was just like fire. And I was on the calendar. I was one of the 11 superstars of the year.
Do you remember some of them? Some of the
there was
the calendar.
Yeah, Wilfred Gay was the soccer star. William Gay. There was John Bidzo. Tawaka Gumbo was there. Then there was Isaac Riano. I think also Agent Sao. Agent was there. And Norman was also there. Yes, we got on the calendar together. And who else? And Basi Chisopo was also there. Yeah, I think those are the players that I can remember who were on that. And Mercedes Banda.
Okay.
He was also there, yeah.
Remind me when you were top goal scorer for a club.
It Caps.
Any of the clubs that you played for?
I was top goal scorer at, you mean in the Premier League, right?
The Premier League, yes.
I was top goal scorer at Blackpool. I was second. George Mbwanda was first, but at Cape United I was top goal scorer for 96 and 97, both years I was the top goal scorer. I was second top scorer in the country in 96. You remember I was overtaken on the last day after I stayed away.
It hurts you so much.
It hurts because I missed 11 matches, but I still came out second. Then this 97, the next year I was the top scorer. Yes. Then 98, I played only half a season. Then I left for South Africa. Then I was also top scorer at Wits University twice in my years at Wits University in South Africa.
Okay.
I loved scoring goals.
Okay, you also played for Jomo Cosmos and is it Kwakwa Stars? Something?
Yeah, I first arrived at Kwakwa Stars. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I remember
Kwakwa.
Yeah. First arrived at Free State Stars. It's now Free State Stars now. Yeah. First arrived there. I stayed there for 3 months, and there was a coup. You know, they were hit by a coup by Wits University, and I ended up at Wits, and I stayed at Wits for 5 years. Then I moved to Mamelodi Sundowns for about 18 months. Then I moved back to Wits for another 3 years before I joined Jomo Cosmos for 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that was your life in South Africa, your career in football.
I played 2 more seasons in the first division, but it was a modest club, FCAK. That was like the curtains down for my career at FCAK. Yeah.
What ended up your career?
Nothing. I decided to quit.
Just decided. No injuries.
No.
Yeah.
People were surprised. I think it was more to do with the frustrations that came with FCAK and the situation with my son who was now at school, and you know there were a lot of complications that made me decide, you know what, let me just quit and focus on something else while my son is comfortable at school. Yeah, because there was a time that the team went into financial difficulties at FCAK, and it was difficult, and I just decided to leave them and focus on something else that I was now doing on the side and to make sure that my son was at school.
Okay, you were brilliant, talented in football. You were also brilliant in school. On the academic side, any achievements?
I don't know. I didn't achieve.
After A level, what?
I didn't achieve. I don't know if I can say achieve. But I went for university after A level. I went to university in the United States. I was doing mechanical engineering, and I only did 1 year, and I came back. Then I decided to go play football, but when I came back to South Africa, that's when I started studying information technology at university. So that's what I ended up studying.
Okay.
At Wits.
All right. Yeah. Why I'm asking was there is this myth that football players and education somehow they are not related. That's why I'm asking to encourage the young guys that are coming through the importance of having education plus the skill. playing football as a profession?
Yeah, you see, for me, it came naturally. You know, it came naturally that I was, you know, in primary you don't have to be studying, you to be on the books, and it's kind of like natural. So for me, it just carried on. That's why my parents would allow me, because I grew up in an era where people used to be told that if you play football, you're not going to make it, you know, in life, you know, because but for me, it was my passion. So I think for me, I managed to get that balance, because I enjoyed both. Like you know, you can see I write a lot. You know, I enjoy writing, I enjoy reading, I read a lot. So it was more like a natural thing. I was not forced to go to school. I was not beaten up, you know. So it was more like natural. I think that's why it came that way. So that's one thing that I can also encourage. I do encourage my boys at the academy. I do encourage my son, my kids go to school, because you know you will need to. But for me, basically, I don't do anything. I don't do anything to do with IT at all. My passion is still with football. But I use the knowledge that I got from IT. You can see my little office there. You know, I use it to my advantage. I maneuver on my own. I can do things on my own in this world of technology. You know, I can basically do anything that I want because of that education. You see, so sometimes it helps you in other ways, but sometimes you've got your own passion, your calling. I believe that my calling is in football, in sport. That's why I'm doing punditry. I do physical fitness. I do coaching. I do academy. But still, I have that educational background that also keeps me afloat. Of which, if the worst comes to the worst, then I can still fall back on it.
Yes.
If the worst, but I'm pursuing what I love. I'm pursuing what I really love. You know. So, but if the worst comes to the worst, then I can still go back and say I can still go back to school anyway. I can still go back to school and even advance and do a lot more things that I would love. But I don't. But I'm where I want to be. You know, because I want to be in football. You see, that's where I think. What I think I was.
There is the academy before we conclude, but there's also the soccer pundit. Tell us about the maybe publishers that you are working with in order to continue in the field of football, maybe as a soccer analyst, or where are you, so that your fans, you know, from Caps United, former Blackpool, and they can follow you.
Yeah. What I'm now doing now is I've got my own. I started my own company. I started my own sports consultancy company. You know, so I'm doing sports consultancy, and like you say, the academy is part of it. But I'm doing punditry as well. I work for ZFM Stereo, you know, as a sports presenter, football pundit as well. And then I also started my own, which is also under my company, Borale to Sports Show that I do. You know, most of that I do it from my own office here, and talk about football, and I also do a lot of writing, you know, and they can catch me on Borale too. They can catch me at ZFM Stereo. I also work with ZTV. I do punditry for ZTV, and currently I'm busy writing my book as well. So the fans should also expect to read, you know, some of the things that we talked about here. It was my journey, but the meat is in the book. Yes. You know, when I'm at Caps United, what exactly happened at Caps United for the 2 years? The people need to know that. What happened at Vets? What happened at Big Vets University? What happened at Sundowns? What happens with the national team, with under 20s, with under 17? People also need to know exactly what was happening. The coaches, the people that I was interacting with, the naughty things that we got up to, the happy times, the sad times. It's all in the book.
Okay. So if you name the book, is it?
Yeah.
What is the?
It's Alois Bunjira, my football journey.
Okay. We will be expecting and looking forward to read more that we could not even compact in this this interview.
It's too big. It's a big volume.
My last question: why did you start this academy?
Like I said, it's a passion. it's a passion, and I've always wanted to do it. You know, I used to actually do it when I was still playing in South Africa. I used to come during the off season. You know, I bring a few balls and organize a fun marine to do time and to do right at a team. It was something that was in me. So I always wanted to give back. And you know, the way I grew up, I was uplifted by a lot of people. You know, my parents never contributed towards financially, that is towards my career. You know, it was other people that used to do that from outside my family, and I felt that I needed to do that. That's what I'm doing with my academy. I give kids. So I was given scholarship as one, but I've given, I think, almost over 60 kids that I've already sourced scholarships for, that went to school through my academy. And that's what I thought, that it's like a calling, that if somebody else could do it for me, so it means that I should also give back the way it was given back to me. So my hope is that those that I'm giving now, those who are 60 will also go and do their own 60s, so that it becomes exponential and we spread the gospel of football throughout the country. We want to uplifting each other, because that's what God is all for, that our talents are supposed to be used to develop others.
Your social media platforms, where the fans that are watching you on SlyMedia can also follow you on your own social media platforms, Twitter handles, so that they can continue to with this conversation.
My Facebook page is Alois GQ. Bunjira, a lot of people have been asking me where the GQ comes from. It's come from my two nicknames when I was growing up. I was Gaza and Q, Quincy. My friends used to call me Quincy after the movie Juice, Tupac Shakur, and then a hairstyle, and so I used to have that hairstyle. So my friends started calling me Quincy, so GQ comes from those two. That's my Facebook page. Then if you want to find my company page is PAMP Urban Consultants. You can find it, PAMP Urban Consultants on Facebook. Then if you want to find me on Twitter, is Gazaman14. Then on Instagram is also Gazaman14. So those are my my social media pages.
Thank you so much for affording us this interview on SlyMedia. All the best with your academy and your other visions in life, and also we can't wait for the book to come out.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here. It's always good to tell my story. You know, my story can only be told by myself. So it was good to actually sit here and tell my story by myself. It was good to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us here on SlyMedia Sports on Saturday. My name is Silvester.